here we are with Katharina Moser. She's a socio-political entrepreneur based in Vienna. After working for the Austrian Foreign Ministry, the British Council London, and the European Forum, she founded Mosaic in 2015, right? Great. And the agency designs events, products, and formats that foster a sense of community. Having organized around 200 events, Katharina also works as a moderator, keynote speaker, and gives workshops. In 2020, she co-founded Creative Cooperation, consulting clients on how to create engaging online. So, Katharina, where is the human in this more and more digital world?
Thank you so much, Biljana, for the introduction. And I'm really happy to be here and to be able to just listen to my previous speakers. That was very impressive. Thank you so much for the inspiring and personal stories. I'm going to start my story with a little poll. So actually, I have a question to you guys, to the ones who are listening to us. And I see some of us, or some of you have already found the poll. If you go in the sidebar, there is this little button that says polls. So if you go there, you can still give me your answer. The first question was, how many hours do you spend in online events per week? So online events can be a meeting, can be a conference like this one, can be a webinar. All right. I can already see there are a few answers coming in. Okay, amazing. Thank you. And I am, yes, finishing the poll now. And I'm not sure if you guys can see it, but okay, so I could see that actually most of you spend more than 8 hours in online events these days. And I have a second question to you. So if you go again to the polls, have you ever turned off your video and done something completely unrelated whilst participating in one of those online events? So you do that all the time, you've done it a few times, or you've never done it. Can you give me your answers on this one as well? And here is the poll. All right, who has ever turned off their video? Yeah, I can already see the answers coming in. Okay, it's actually, there are some who are saying I do that all the time, and there are quite a lot of you, it's 75% now who say that you've done it a few times, and actually no one who says that no, you've never done it. I'm ending the poll now, so I'm not sure if you can see the results. Hopefully you can. So I think this very much shows what I'm going to talk about, and that is that in the new normal that we're living in these days, we're spending hours and hours in so-called online events. Like I said, Zoom conferences, Skype calls, meeting in Teams, and all that kind of thing. And most of us will have had this experience that people just zoom out, and you might even do it right now whilst I'm talking. I don't know. What I want to tell you about right now is how you can actually make your online events more engaging and more lively so that people don't go off cooking or watch Netflix instead. So I'm convinced that actually this massive disruption that we have experienced and that has basically thrown us into the digital world is also a big chance that we change the way how we are having online events. When you think back to the kind of events that you experienced before all of this happened, so the kind of real events, how many times were you part of a meeting where you actually thought, can I please go back to my real world, to my real work? Can this please end? Or how many times have you been at a conference, kind of going through your Instagram feed whilst you were listening to yet another all-male panel? Or how many times was the coffee break actually the best part of a workshop? So I think there is a problem, and the problem is that all too often organizers don't ask the most important questions. And these actually are, why is my audience here? And what do they need to have a great time? And how can I actually make their time worthwhile? So I think now in the digital world, we kind of realize that we can't ignore these questions anymore. Because if we don't engage people in online events, then they don't have to, you know, get up and fumble past by a row of knees and awkwardly get out of the room whilst everyone is watching them. No, they can't just click and then they're out. So when we're looking at online events, obviously there are a lot of advantages. It's much easier to be international. We already heard that we have people here sitting in different cities who are now joined together. We can bring in speakers and also participants from all over the world. There is an instant exchange of information. There's a possibility for instant collaboration. And of course, we can also save money, we can save time, and in the best online events, focus on the essential content. But the single biggest disadvantage in online events that gets mentioned over and over again is this. We're missing the human element. So we're missing this kind of connection with others, the chit chat that we have on the side, or even the atmosphere in the room. So the question is, how can you bring this human element to your online events? And I want to give you 5 hands-on tips or 5 rules today that you can use in your online events. And for that, I have prepared something which isn't a presentation, but let me start with this. Or actually without it, because rule number 1 is this: be real. Dare to take off your masks. And by that, I'm not actually talking about these kind of masks that keep us healthy, but I'm talking about the kind of masks that we usually wear in a business context, because we think we can't show our real selves because this is work. Authenticity is the number 1 factor when it comes to building trust. And I think that in online events, it becomes even more important to build this trust, because quite often people don't know each other, and even more often we can't even see each other. But in the end, we are all emotional beings, and we've heard that before today. And we all have personal lives. And actually, those personal lives are already finding their way into our online events anyway. I mean, you can see backgrounds. For instance, here you can see my living room, you can see people's kitchens, sometimes you can see kids or pets or all of those kind of personal elements. And that's not a bad thing, and it's not an embarrassing thing, but it's actually quite bonding to see something real that kind of shows me a bit of who you are. This is why I really encourage you to show your real backgrounds. Don't have those fancy kind of beach virtual pictures in the background, that just show a bit of who you are and where you live. And dare to just be real, be vulnerable, tell your real stories, and even make mistakes. Because right now, this is all new to all of us. We're all kind of experimenting with online events. So people are actually far more forgiving, and you can try out new things and you can make mistakes. So if you are in a leading position, I encourage you to be the one who takes that first step towards that culture of authenticity. Rule number 2. Be explicit and don't let your participants sit in the dark. So we have probably all heard about this term Zoom fatigue, which basically means that we're getting really tired and exhausted in online meetings. Just a quick one to explain you what it is. This basically comes from the fact that our brains are constantly communicating, even if we don't speak. So if you meet a person in real life, you kind of speak to that person, and that your brain is also absorbing the words, but at the same time, your brain is checking for non-verbal communication signals. So these are the more implicit communication signals, like, does this person actually look at me, or maybe the person looks somewhere else and is actually distracted, and I'm also kind of perceiving what's happening around me. So when we are in online meetings, our brain is a bit irritated, because suddenly when we're, for instance, in a Zoom call where we see those 25 blurred faces, our brain is trying to get those implicit non-verbal communication signals from 25 faces at the same time. And that is exhausting. And of course, also it's frustrating for the person who speaks to not be able to really grasp the audience, to not have this direct feedback, because this is what we're used to. We're used to speaking and getting a reaction for it. So therefore, I think one of the essential rules is to make implicit communication more explicit. How can you do that? For instance, create rules on how you want to receive feedback in online communication. It can be visual if you're working with videos. For instance, jazz hands is always a nice one when someone says something that people like and everyone goes like this. You can just do the old-fashioned thumb up. You can use the chat and actually write in the chat, use emojis. Or you can use something like this, remote talking cards that you send to your participants beforehand, and then you can, use them whilst the person is talking. You're on mute, typical one. Another thing that can help is also to have a co-host, so someone who's actually helping you to observe the audience. Rule number 3. Be interactive. If you decide to have an online event, the number one thing that should happen is interaction. Because otherwise you can also just upload videos on YouTube so people can watch it in their free time, which is also a good option. But interaction is key if you actually want to create a sense of togetherness or a sense of community amongst your participants. And in the end, we all want to have this feeling of connecting with others. And I think we have to consciously give space for this. There are plenty of ways to do this, but I give you 3 ideas on how you can do this. One that I really like is a moment of eye gazing. So you can do that at the beginning of your events, of your meetings, when you use video. And you can basically just allow people for a minute to just stare at everyone else's video and just kind of look, okay, who's there? The person is wearing a funny dress today, and I haven't seen her in a while. I actually know him. Just kind of the thing that all of us do anyway. We're clicking through the videos to see who else is here. Just allow it to happen and give that moment of eye gazing. Another idea is so-called event buddies. So at the beginning of an event, you can actually put a group of people into a breakout session and then bring them together over the course of the event over and over again. So by that, they can exchange about the content that they've heard, they can network, they can have discussions, and it might even be easier to find new people and to network in a setting that is just given by the host. Whereas in real life events, we actually had to stay in the coffee area and start chatting to people that we might not know. And like this, it can actually be enabled by the hosts. Or another idea, also quite simple to do, is a digital social wall. So you can set it up with a program like Miro. You can also just use a Google Sheet and basically just have people write in their names, their contact details, and maybe let them answer a question like, I don't know, recommend a book to the other participants. And by that, they can all come back to this platform, to this list during the event and just exchange directly with the others. Rule number 4. Be entertaining. So it's funny that we seem to all get tired in Zoom calls and Zoom meetings, but we spend hours and hours on other online formats. And that's because these are entertainment formats. And I think we can actually learn a lot from those entertainment formats for our own online events. When you look at Instagram stories or TED Talks, it's all about stories, and people love good storytelling. So think about how you can implement good storytelling in your online event. When you think about podcasts or Saturday night shows, quite often they are not using frontal speeches, but they're using interview style so that people actually go into a real discussion with each other. Or when you look at casting shows like The Voice or any of them, quite often they have live polls so that they bring their audience into the event that's happening. And the last rule, be physical. So you might wonder, how can you be physical in an online event? And what it means is to be aware of the physical, because our body actually tells us quite well what it needs and what it can take. For instance, our body tells us that we have a very short attention span and we get bored quite easily. So you should really keep that in mind when you're designing your online event. Make your content shorter than usual. Be much slower and give more space for breaks. And actually present less content, but make sure that this content is even better. And you can also use the advantage that we're not in a room together, but that actually everyone can move around. So just ask people to take their phones and maybe for one of the talks, just go outside for a walk and listen to the talk. Or just do an exercise with your audience, do a little experience where they can actually move their bodies. So to sum up again, the 5 tips on how to make your online events more lively and engaging. Be real. Be explicit. Be interactive. Be entertaining. And be aware of the physical. So I believe in the upcoming months, we will definitely see more online events. I think we will also see more hybrids. So that means part offline and part online. And I actually believe that this whole change will also have an effect on the way how we meet in offline events. And I hope that the tips and the rules that I presented to you can actually help you to keep your participants more engaged, more interested, and more connected in any of these settings. Because in the end, it is my hope and it also is my belief that the past months have shown us something that is very clear. What we need the most, no matter if it's a digital event or if it's a real life event, is simply to allow us to be more human. And I always like to end my talks with a quote by Maya Angelou, who said the following: "People will forget what you did, they will forget what you said, but they will never forget how you made them feel." Thank you very much. And if you ever need any help with making your audience feel great, please feel free to reach out to me and my colleague from Creative Cooperation that we just funded, like Biljana said, a few months ago. We actually want to really help you make your events more human. And unfortunately, our website is still German, but I will just put my contacts in our website directly in the chat, and feel free to just address me also on LinkedIn. Thank you so much for your attention.
Thank you. Thank you. Well, I put down all your lessons. I would love to have some entertainment right now. I could sing a song.
But, right. If all
yeah, I would love to. I would love to. But I think we can organize another event for that, so we can all put our entertaining part in front of us. It was really interesting. I will keep in mind everything you said. Thank you very much. When we were having discussion with you, you said, okay, I maybe not have a presentation. I have something else in my mind. And I was okay, sure. So what you have done there, it was really nice. Thank you so much. It's really important to entertain the audience, that's for sure. And especially in days like this, when you have an online event from early in the morning until the evening. So it's been a lot of hours now. But right now, I'm not saying stand up, go outside, have fun, because one more really interesting panel is coming up. Thank you so much again. I would love to be in touch and for your support. Thank you.
Thanks.